So you're planning a trip to Tokyo. Awesome. But let's be real. It's so easy to drop a ton of money and end up with a trip that just feels, well, like you're checking off someone else's list. Today, we're going to give you an entirely new way to think about it, an architect's blueprint, if you will, for designing a trip that's not just fancy, but actually smart. Let's dive in. Right? This is the dream, isn't it? That perfect trip. You know the one. It's smooth, it feels real, it's something you'll never forget. And that's an amazing goal to have. But we're talking about Tokyo, a city with just an insane amount of options. Trying to find that perfect experience can honestly feel like looking for a needle in a haystack. And that really gets to the heart of the problem for any traveler, right? Over here, you've got the dream, that one-of-a-kind, authentic journey. But over here, you've got the risk, that overpriced, generic tourist experience, where you just feel like you're part of a herd. That's the trap, and that's exactly what we're going to help you sidestep today.
So let's talk about what we're calling the luxury tourist trap. And look, this is something that trips up even the most experienced travelers. It's super common, and it all boils down to one simple thing: the huge difference between just spending a lot of money and actually getting a lot of value. Okay, check this out. This number is pretty staggering. In Japan, just the top 2.4% of travelers, the ones spending the most, they account for almost 20% of all tourist spending. Think about that. This isn't some tiny niche group. This is the engine that drives high-quality tourism. So yeah, getting this right, it's a really big deal.
And that leads to the big question, the one you really need to ask yourself. Is that multi-thousand-dollar trip you're planning actually buying you the best experience? Or is it just buying you the most famous one? You know, the one you see all over Instagram. Honestly, that's the fear that keeps smart travelers up at night. Okay, but don't worry. There is absolutely a way around this. It just means we need to totally rethink what true luxury actually is. It's all about a mindset shift, moving from an old way of thinking to a new, way more powerful one. And that brings us to this really cool idea called intellectual luxury. Now, the concept is pretty simple, but it's also really profound. Here it is. The ultimate luxury has nothing to do with the price tag. It's all about investing your intelligence to get the absolute most value out of your time and your experiences. Let me break it down like this. The old idea of luxury, it was all about price. It was about sticking to the status quo and just kind of passively consuming things. But this new intellectual luxury, it's driven by value. It's informed by data. And this is the most important part. It's all about actively participating. Okay, so that all sounds great, right? But how do you actually do it? Well, we've boiled it all down into a super practical framework. We're calling it the 3 pillars of perfection. And this is your new blueprint. All right, here they are. Pillar 1, optimize your stay. Pillar 2, curate your experience. And pillar 3, perfect your cuisine. Now, all 3 are super important, but for today, we're going to really dig in and master the first 2. If you can get these right, I'm telling you, you're not just a tourist anymore. You become the architect of your own amazing trip. Okay, let's jump into that first pillar, finding your perfect stay. And listen, this is not about just looking up the hotel with the most stars or the highest price. No, it's about asking a much deeper, more important question. Which hotel actually fits who you are as a traveler? So, for example, maybe you're what we call the intellectual purist. You're the kind of person who geeks out over incredible design, who craves silence, and for whom the quality of the space itself is everything. If that's you, the choice is obvious. Aman Tokyo. It's basically an urban sanctuary where the sheer amount of space and that minimalist design, it just creates this perfect, peaceful vibe. Or maybe you're more of the cultural connoisseur. You're someone who gets excited by a hotel's story, its history, its place in pop culture. If that sounds like you, then it's gotta be the reborn Park Hyatt Tokyo. I mean, come on, its legacy was sealed forever in the movie Lost in Translation. Staying there is literally like stepping inside a piece of film history. But what if you're the authenticity seeker? You're craving that deep, traditional Japanese experience, but you're not quite ready to give up modern 5-star luxury. Well, the answer for you is Hoshinoya Tokyo. It's this mind-blowing concept, a tower ryokan. They've taken the entire traditional inn experience, complete with a rooftop onsen, and put it inside a sleek, modern skyscraper. It's incredible. So, check out this matrix. This is basically your cheat sheet. It lets you find your perfect match based on who you are. So if you're a classic aficionado and you love history, the Imperial is your spot. If you're a creative cosmopolitan and you want a social hub, you can't do better than Trunk Hotel. You see? It's about using this kind of data, your own personality data, not just famous brand names, to make a smarter choice.
All right, so you've got your home base totally dialed in. Now, we take that exact same way of thinking and apply it to pillar number 2, curating experiences that you will never find in a standard guidebook. This, my friends, is where a simple trip transforms into a real story.
I mean, we're talking about a huge shift here. Instead of just walking through a museum, imagine you're on a private tour with the person who actually curated the exhibit. Instead of just buying a piece of pottery, imagine you're taking a private lesson in the beautiful art of kintsugi, where you repair broken pottery with gold. You're not just looking at amazing buildings, you're walking through them with an architect who can explain the vision behind every single line.
So here's the bottom line, the big takeaway. This new kind of luxury, this intellectual luxury, it's about shifting from just passively seeing something to actively doing something with a master. It's about participation. It's about learning. It's about making a real connection. And those are the things that create memories that will stick with you way longer than any photo you could ever take.
Okay, so let's pull all of this together. When you sidestep those common tourist traps and really embrace this idea of intellectual luxury, you're not just planning a slightly better vacation. You are fundamentally using a brand new, much smarter framework for travel. And what that means is that you are no longer just a tourist, passively accepting some pre-packaged trip. No, you become the architect of your very own masterpiece. You are thoughtfully, intelligently designing a journey that is a true reflection of your values, your passions, and who you are.
So, we're going to leave you with this one final thought. You've got the blueprint now. You have the tools. You have the mindset. The only question left to answer is, what is your Tokyo masterpiece going to look like?